This weekend, the road to Super Bowl 57 officially begins. 14 teams, one goal, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Hello, friends, and welcome to this most exciting edition of TXN Sports World NFL Thursday, Super Wildcard weekend. The regular season is over. The preliminaries are over. Now it's time for the main events. And we will get into those main events in just a little bit. But first, we started off with the end of the college football season this past Monday night at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, as we saw the number one team in all the land, the Made in Georgia Bulldogs, squaring off against the number 3 TCU Horned Frogs. And friends, it wasn't even close. It was not even close. It was the most lopsided championship game in the history of any sport. It was college football's version of the infamous Brock Lesnar, John Cena championship match from SummerSlam 2014. That's how bad it was. The Made in Georgia Bulldogs were the winners. And as you heard me say on it, the winners and still college football playoff national champions, the Made in Georgia Bulldogs, back-to-back, first team since Alabama in 2011 and 12. 65-7, the final score. Stetson Bennett, offensive MVP, 18 of 25, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. His backup, Carson Beck, only went 2 for 3 for 31 yards. Kenny McIntosh led the team with 50 yards rushing, but the thing was, it was Branson Robinson with 2 rushing touchdowns. Stetson Bennett had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kendall Milton had a rushing touchdown as well. As far as the touchdown passes, Brock Bowers, 7 catches, 152 yards, had a touchdown. Ladd McConkey, 5 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Adonai Mitchell, 1 catch for 22 yards, but that was a 22-yard touchdown catch. Defense with 5 sacks on the night, and also recorded 2 interceptions by one player. Javon Bullard had 2 interceptions. 5 different players had sacks, and it was without a doubt the most lopsided performance, the most dominant championship performance you will ever see. For TCU, Max Duggan, 14 of 22, 152 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Chandler Morris, 0 for 1. Amari DiMercado led the team in rushing, 14 carries for 59 yards. Max Duggan did have a scored the only touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown. That cut the game to 10-7, but then after that, that was it. Darius Davis, the only other bright spot for TCU, 5 catches for 101 yards. The defense did next to nothing. They had no sacks. They had no interceptions. And that's really all there was. I mean, we thought going into this game, we were thinking maybe there was a chance for an upset. Maybe this had the chance to be another Shakespearean drama classic. But unfortunately, that's not the case. That's not what we got on Monday night. What we got was an absolute dud of a game. Very disappointing, especially after the 2 greatest college football playoff semifinal games we ever saw, when TCU defeated Michigan 51-45 and Georgia barely escaped Ohio State 42-41. We were thinking maybe the momentum was going to continue, but no. The most lopsided championship game of all time, an absolute dud. And, it is what it is. But nonetheless, congratulations to Kirby Smart, Stetson Bennett, and the entire Made in Georgia Bulldog team. But they are once again still your reigning, defending, undisputed college football playoff national champions, back-to-back. And I believe they're on their way to becoming the next great dynasty in college football. I mean, the last one we saw, of course, was Bama, as we all know, when Bama was dominating. Now it looks like the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs are the new Alabama. So get used to this team, folks, because this team's going to be around for a long time. And don't be surprised if at this time next year we're talking about them possibly three-peating. So congratulations to them. Not much more for me to add here. MF, I mean, the two greatest semifinal games we ever saw, both five-star classics, chock full of Shakespearean drama. But this, no Shakespearean drama whatsoever. Absolute dud from start to finish. College football's version, MF, if you would, of Lesnar over Cena, SummerSlam 2014. Upset.
Yeah, this was over before it even got started, and the cruel irony of it is that everybody was talking, and have you gotten a chance to see the the Cur- have you gotten a chance to see the what Kirby Smart said, his pregame speech before the TCU game, Anthony? Have you gotten a chance to hear about it?
No. I'm guessing something must have
Oh,
come from that.
oh. Let's just say if you got to hear Kirby unedited, you would have gone through the wall for what he was saying. You would have literally would understood why the 65-7 happened. Because my friends, it was the most awe-inspiring, the most powerful, the most profanity-laced pregame speech I've ever heard in my life. And when I heard it, and thank you, Pat McAfee, because he found the audio and played it, now I know why Georgia did what they did to TCU. Because, boys, that pregame speech fired me up. And not many things can do that. And it triggered me. And I was like, now I know why we saw the bloodbath that we saw on national championship night. That was without a doubt the most unbelievable, most emphatic beatdowns you'll ever see for a national championship game. And truthfully, honestly, what they did was absolutely phenomenal. I don't think there's no arguments. I don't think there's anything that we would have even said. This was without a doubt them cementing their place as the best college football team, not only of this season, but you can go as far as to say this could have been one of the greatest national championship performances ever. Pre-BCS era, BCS era, college football playoff era, whatever you want to say, they did that. And there's no argument. Literally, for me, this was without a doubt the most emphatic national championship performance I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think we're ever going to see a performance like that ever again. I mean, you want to talk about sure perfection? That's exactly what they did. That was an absolute clinic, what they ran on TCU. Poor TCU didn't even stand a chance. Yeah, they had that early touchdown that made it a game, but all that just did was just anger Georgia, and that was it. It was over before it even got started. So, yeah, unbelievable performance, unbelievable everything. Hats off to Georgia for winning the national championship again. And already many people are considering them the favorites for next year's national championship, which is no big surprise either. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Anthony, let's get on to the NFL.
All right, MF, and we're going to start it off with All right, now let's keep in mind we have 6 games here. There'll be 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday night. So just like last year. So with that, we started off with the game that kicks it all off Saturday afternoon, 4:30 Eastern on Fox, as it will be the number 2 seed in the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, hosting the number 7 seed, their divisional rival, the Seattle Seahawks. Third meeting between these two. We already know San Francisco won both meetings. They swept the regular season series. This game on Fox, and on the call for that one will be Joe Davis, Daryl Moose Johnston, and 2 sideline reporters. Their traditional reporter, Pam Oliver, and they will have the other sideline covered by Christina Pink. So Pam Oliver and Christina Pink will be roaming the sidelines with Joe Davis and Daryl Moose Johnston in the booth, of course. Second postseason meeting between these two. The other one of the greatest NFC Championship games of all time. It was January of 2014 at Lumen Field in Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks defeating the San Francisco 49ers 23-17, advancing to their first ever Super Bowl. You may remember that was the game that also featured that infamous, cringeworthy post-game interview with Richard Sherman and Aaron Andrews. We all remember that. How cranked up he was after that game. And enough said there. So San Francisco opening up as a 9.5-point favorite, which is no big surprise. So it's tied for the second biggest. So there's another team that's also a 9.5-point favorite. So we'll get into that later. But for right now, let's start it off here. Riding a 10-game win streak, the second-seeded 49ers look to secure a spot in the divisional round when they host the 7th-seeded Seahawks to kick off Super Wildcard weekend. The 49ers will also attempt to notch a season sweep over the Seahawks after winning their Week 2 matchup 27-7 and their Week 15 matchup 21-13. Since taking over for the injured Jimmy Garoppolo with a foot injury, 7th-round rookie Brock Purdy has yet to lose a game as a starter. He's 5-0 and will look to maintain his unblemished record throughout the postseason. Pegged as the projected NFC West bottom feeders, Pete Carroll's Seahawks defied the odds. But just getting to the playoffs is not sufficient enough for this group. Seattle eked into the playoff field during the final week of the regular season, notching a 19-16 overtime victory over the LA Rams, and then securing the 7th seed following the Green Bay Packers' home loss to the Detroit Lions on Sunday night. After a 6-3 start to the season, Seattle's had its struggles, entering the wild card round with a 3-5 record over its last 8 games. All that is in the rear view, though, and as long as you have life, anything's possible. Despite being pegged as near double-digit favorites, the 49ers are not going to take Seattle lightly, as they know they're capable of getting bounced if they don't execute over 4 quarters. With the 49ers being one of the league's highest power-rated teams, it's no surprise to see them listed as near double-digit home favorites in this game. Back in Week 2, San Francisco closed as 8.5-point home favorites over Seattle and are now priced even higher amid its 10-game winning streak. Seattle's offense had trouble generating offense in both matchups this season, averaging just 10 points a game. And since the 49ers defense sports the lowest EPA/play in the league at minus 0.112, it's no surprise to see the over-under total sitting at 43, the lowest total of Super Wildcard weekend. The Seahawks lead the all-time series over the 49ers 30-19. Despite sweeping the regular season series this year, the 49ers had lost the last 4 meetings against Seattle, dating back to Russell Wilson's tenure. Saturday will be their first postseason matchup since the 2013 NFC Championship game, when the Seahawks advanced to Super Bowl 48 in an all-time classic. The 3 things to watch for. Number 1, Brock Purdy on the big stage. Saturday's game will mark the first playoff start for both quarterbacks, but more pressure is seemingly on Mr. Irrelevant's shoulders, with the 49ers capable of making another Super Bowl run. Purdy's has looked nothing like a 7th-round rookie entering this wildcard round, with the 6th highest EPA/play among QBs with at least 200 snaps this season at 0.196. Purdy's 13-4 touchdown to interception ratio is exactly what the 49ers need. He's making the right reads more often than not, while relying on an elite supporting cast to shred defenses. It's unlikely the moment gets too big for Purdy, a 4-year college starter who's had to live up to high expectations in the past. Number 2, George Kittle over the middle. Kittle's resurfacing as one of the league's best receiving tight ends at the perfect time. He's been on a tear the last 4 weeks, racking up 7 touchdowns while becoming a trusted option of Purdy's. Kittle's torrid stretch began in the 49ers' Week 15 win in Seattle when he hauled in 4 passes for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seattle's defense has struggled against tight ends all season, and Kittle has a shot to post another monster stat line. And number 3, Seattle's offensive line and pass protection. Despite blitzing at a 20.4% clip, 21st in the league, San Francisco's defense sports the 8th highest pressure rate, 22.5%. And what makes this defense so elite is their ability to pressure QBs when rushing just 4. With 7 defenders in coverage, Geno Smith is going to have to make the right reads while being accurate with his passes. It's likely the Seahawks will have to manufacture long drives as gaining explosive plays against the 49ers defense is challenging. That means their offensive line needs to hold up in pass protection and an offensive line that ranks below league average in PFF's pass blocking grade, 63.6, and adjusted sack rate, 8.6%, will have its hands full. The stat that matters is 25.7%. That's the percentage of opponents' drives that ended in scores against the 49ers defense this season. San Francisco was the only team to hold its opponents under a 30% clip, showcasing exactly how hard it is to consistently move the ball on them. Along with leading the league in that category, San Francisco's defense has held its opponents to only 1.45 points per drive. Yet another stat the 49ers defense sits atop the league in. San Francisco's stability on both sides of the ball warrants the 49ers being priced as near double-digit home favorites. While covering a near double-digit spread in the playoffs is tough to do, the 49ers' ability to get natural pressure on Geno Smith should result in a low-scoring day for Seattle's offense. The 49ers get the job done, notching their 11th overall win in a row, and that's all there is to say. So I got the San Francisco 49ers winning this game. My final score, 24-13. The San Francisco 49ers defeat the Seattle Seahawks and advance to the divisional round once for the 2nd year in a row. So not much more to say here. MF, Seattle, San Fran, kicking off Super Wildcard weekend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting situation here. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like this is meant for the Niners to win. I think San Fran definitely has an opportunity to really do something really special. Look, Seattle kind of escaped in thanks to a little bit of some help. Not only did they win their game, but then you also had Detroit pulling off a major upset, knocking out the Green Bay Packers, and that was really what triggered it more than anything else. Look, do I think that they could win it? Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. But at the end of the day, I got to feel like this is going to be an interesting game. But I just feel like the Niners are going to be so much more stronger, so much more better, and just the body of work for them more than anything else. I got to say, I think it's going to be a little bit close for the first couple of quarters, but I think once the second half starts, it's going to be the Niners basically just dropping the hammer on Seattle, and they're probably going to win this by at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3, but I'm going to say 2 touchdown victory, and that's it. So I really got nothing more to say. Anthony, let's get on to the nightcap of the Super Wildcard weekend on Saturday.
And you'll be starting off on that one, MF. And we go from the NFC wildcard to the AFC wildcard. The first AFC wildcard matchup, Saturday night, 8:15 kickoff over on NBC, as it will be the number 4 seed, the Jacksonville Jaguars, hosting the number 5 seed, the Los Angeles Chargers. We rank this as our number 3 wildcard game on our end. And for NBC, how about this? The legendary Al Michaels. Al Michaels will be on the call for this game. He'll be working with Tony Dungy. So it'll be Al Michaels and Tony Dungy. Kaylee Hartung will be the sideline reporter. And the Chargers opening up as 2.5-point favorites. And this is the first ever postseason meeting between these two teams. They have met in the regular season 13 times. And but this is the first ever postseason meeting between these two teams. They met in the regular season, and the Jacksonville Jaguars went into SoFi and put a whooping on the Chargers. So there isn't much more to say here. MF, a battle of two of the best young quarterbacks in the game right now. Justin Herbert for the Chargers, Trevor Lawrence for the Jags. Great to see the Chargers finally get in. You know, they've had so many tough luck seasons, coming so close, but coming up just short of the postseason. This year, they finally get it done. They make it. But the Jacksonville Jaguars started this season 3-7, closed out going 6-1. And man, a couple months ago, we thought same old Jags, but no, this is not the same old Jags. These Jags are for real.
They are for real, and the thing is that a lot of people did not see this coming. I think when we were doing our little our preseason preview, we had the Jags almost near the bottom of the AFC South. I think none of us saw this coming. None of us thought it was going to happen, and sure enough, they did. They believed in themselves. They believed in the body of work, and they believed in everything that they meant, and they got into the playoffs with one of the greatest runs we've ever seen, and one that I know we will never forget as long as we shall live. This was a historic run, a meteoric rise for them, but now you're going up against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. And the Chargers, like you said, Anthony, has been one of those teams that's been a little bit of a sneaky team. You don't know what you're going to get from them. But I will say this. Austin Eckler has been a major star for the team this year. But the one concern that I do have for the Chargers, they lost one of their top receivers in the last game of the season. That might be a devastating blow. And on top of that, normally the Jaguars, yes, their defense has gotten better, and they have. But they are very leaky in that secondary, and that could lead to trouble for Jacksonville. Jacksonville will utilize the running attack, which I think they could do with Travis Etienne. I think he'll have a pretty decent game, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence has enough horses that can get them over the top. If this turns into a shootout, I don't think the Jags can hang. That's the only problem. They're going to have to grind this game out. That means they're going to have to slow the game down, utilize the run. That means Travis Etienne is going to get a lot of carries here. And defensively, they're going to have to show some kind of look to try to stymie Justin Herbert. They did it the first time around, but that was earlier in the year. This time around, I don't know. This might be a little bit of a tall order, at least in my mind. I got the Los Angeles Chargers coming out of TIAA Bank Stadium in Jacksonville, and I do believe they will take down the Jaguars and advance to the divisional round in the AFC. This is going to be a tough game, but I do believe they'll get the job done. Give me the Chargers to knock off the Jags. It's going to be a close game, but I do believe that the Chargers will win this one. So, Michael Bullock, welcome to the party. You only missed one game. Yeah, Anthony, you can set him up.
Yep, I got it from here, MF. All right, Bullock. We gave a quick thought about the national championship game that we saw on Monday night. 65-7 Georgia over TCU. I mean, we were flipping between this game and Monday Night Raw during our Raw chat Monday night, and boy howdy, we couldn't believe what we saw in that game. I mean, we still can't. I mean, there still are no words to describe what we saw on Monday night, all except for the fact that I said it to MF, and I'll say it to you, and I know you'll agree with us on this. This was exactly like Brock Lesnar and John Cena at SummerSlam 2014 all over again.
But man, oh man, even to this day, Florio, I still can't imagine this. I mean, yes, we knew Georgia was going to win this one, but I thought for sure that this was going to be a closer game than what the experts said, just because of what TCU did to Michigan. But man, Georgia, I mean, they were relentless early and often in that national championship game, and one of the most lopsided national championship games I've seen in a long time. But it just goes to show why Georgia has been the most dominant team, or probably the top team in college football. I mean, Stetson Bennett, I mean, had another really good game, and then of course the tight end, what was it, Bowers, Florio?
Yeah, Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers. I mean, that was Bennett's go-to guy. I mean, he went to him, but the defense really made Max Duggan's night very, very tough. And
5 sacks, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, yeah, a guy who was one of the finalists in the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, he certainly didn't look like one in that on Monday night. And look, all in all, I mean, props to TCU for a run that they went on. I mean, here it was last year, and what was their record last year, Florio?
They were 5-7 last year, and on top of that, going into the season, they were picked 7th. They were picked to finish 7th in the Big 12, and their odds of going that far was 200 to 1.
Yeah, 5-7, and then they had to make a change at coach. They brought in Sonny Dykes, and what a turnaround they had, and one of the most memorable seasons in the history of TCU, just to get to the national championship game. I mean, TCU has been in some big games before, but none like this. Even though, I mean, I think TCU should be proud of what they accomplished, and even one of the great TCU alumnus, LaDainian Tomlinson, I'm sure must have been proud of that team, and so much so he was the honorary captain for that national championship game. So kudos to TCU, but once again, congratulations to Georgia. Second straight national championship, the first repeat champion since the Alabama Crimson Tide did it. So can they make it 3 in a row? I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a tall order for Georgia next season. I mean, Bennett's going to be going pro. I mean, they're going to lose some other guys. So it's going to be a tall order for them. But as the old saying goes, never say never. So,
oh, indeed.
So we'll see what happens to that. So congratulations again to Kirby Smart, Stetson Bennett, and the rest of the Georgia Bulldogs. 2 straight national championships, and that just goes to show why the SEC is the most dominant conference in Division I college football right now. Not just because of Alabama, but because of what we've seen with this Georgia team. And also what we saw from Tennessee this season. So the SEC definitely proved once again why they are the most dominant conference in all of Division I college football. So
Georgia winning the national championship, Alabama dominating Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl, and Tennessee, for the most part, dominating Clemson in the Orange Bowl. So 3 of the New Year's 6 bowls were SEC teams. That's dominance.
Oh yeah, if that's not dominance, I don't know what the hell is. So with that being said, let's get into what you already talked about. One wild card game that's coming up.
Yes, the first game, of course. That is the Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the San Francisco 49ers. MF and I both have the Niners. Are we going to make that unanimous?
Yes, I'm going to make it unanimous here. I mean, that defense is going to be one of the reasons why they win this game. I mean, especially led by a man who I think should be the defensive player of the year in Nick Bosa. I mean,
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he to me is the heart and soul of that defense for the 49ers. But to me, the real story has been Brock Purdy.
Purdy mania.
It was Purdy mania. I mean, a man who was Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. Well, right now he's not Mr. Irrelevant. He is Mr. Popular as of right now. I mean, so far he's 5-0 as a starter since taking over for Jimmy Garoppolo. And yeah, I mean, I think he's going to continue that run, especially when you got guys like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and of course the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey. So, and I know Philadelphia is the favorite to represent the Super Bowl when it comes to the NFC, but I don't know. I'm not buying it. To me, I think the San Francisco 49ers, and I know we still got a lot to go, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to make a bold statement right here, right now. I think the 49ers are going to be the team to come out of the NFC, because what you've seen offensively, even with Brock Purdy, but what they can do defensively. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. 49ers win. So,
all right.
So that's all I got to say.
Yep. And of course, I forgot to mention that game, of course, will be at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. And of course, the game that MF just led off on, our second game, the Saturday night game, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars, TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. And MF went with the LA Chargers to win that game. So Michael Bullock, a very tough one to call here. Your thoughts on our number 3 wild card game in the AFC, the LA Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars on a Saturday night?
Man, that's a tough one. And of course, this game being on NBC, like you just mentioned, the man, the myth, the legend is back for one night on NBC. Mr. Al Michaels is back. I mean, that's gonna
along with Tony Dungy and Kaylee Hartung on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be good to see him back on NBC for one night only. So, man, this is a tough one to call. And to me, I think it all depends on the status of Mike Williams. If Mike Williams plays in this game, I would go with the Chargers. But if he doesn't play, then I think this could open the door for the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one. I don't know why, but let's not forget the guy who's on the sidelines for Jacksonville. And that's the man who led the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl championship during the 2017 season. That's Doug Peterson. So you never know what Doug Peterson's going to have up his bag of tricks. I mean, hello, you got to look at the Philly special we saw in the Super Bowl, so you never know what he's going to throw at you. So I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one. I mean, but if San Diego wins, I would not at all be surprised. So Florio, it's up to you, man. It's up to you to break the tie. Who do you go with? You're going with Fletch in the Chargers, or are you going to go with me and the Jaguars?
I think I hate to. It's not often I have to correct you, Bullock, but you said San Diego. Let's not forget they're the Los Angeles Chargers now.
Los Angeles Chargers. All right.
I know you. Considering that, I think this is the first time that. No, I think they've made it only one other time as the LA Chargers, but so many postseason memories.
Well, they did make it one other time as the LA Chargers, and let's just say, well, my team beat them in the divisional round.
Yep, they made it to the divisional round, losing to Bullock's Patriots, and Bullock's Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl. So that's that. So
and here's another thing, Florio. There have been some national pundits who blundered it and said San Diego, so I'm not the only one who blundered it.
I know you probably still have Berman and TJ in your mind with that little San Diego Superchargers.
Hey, it's a catchy thing.
Absolutely. So, but now they're the Los Angeles Superchargers, and after making history as the sixth team in NFL history with back-to-back number one picks, the Jaguars put together an impressive 2022 season during Doug Peterson's first season as head coach. Jacksonville has earned the right to host a playoff game for the first time since the Wildcard game in 2017 against my Buffalo Bills, but advancing into the divisional round won't be easy when the Los Angeles Chargers come to town on Saturday night. Jacksonville punched its ticket to the postseason following a come-from-behind 20-16 win over the Tennessee Titans in the de facto AFC South Championship game last Saturday night. In the win, the Jaguars defense stepped up in the most pressing moments, scoring a go-ahead touchdown on a 37-yard fumble return by the defensive Josh Allen. On top of that, Jacksonville's defense won on early downs and held Derrick Henry to just 3.6 yards a carry. The offense couldn't finish drives, though, and another offensive output like the one put forth last Saturday will most likely result in a one-and-done showing for the Jags. Second-year quarterback Trevor Lawrence wants back a couple of throws he missed in Week 18 and gets an opportunity to do it against a defense he torched for 3 touchdowns in a 38-10 rout in LA back in Week 3. Speaking of that Week 3 drubbing by Jacksonville, Los Angeles looks like a completely different team than the one that showed up that day. The Chargers' 4-game winning streak came to an end in their 31-28 road loss to Denver last week, but that shouldn't overshadow all the good things LA did in their late season surge. The Chargers entered the postseason with a good deal of momentum, but some of it was lost when they elected to play its starters in their seemingly meaningless Week 18 contest. 3 key producers, Mike Williams, Joey Bosa, and Kenneth Murray, got banged up, and for a team that's had to overcome countless injuries, limping into the first round is not a situation you want to be in. There's a chance this game closes close to a pick'em by kickoff, as it has a coin flip feel to it. Chargers have already been bet down from 2.5 to 1, as some influential bettors felt the opening spread was mispriced. The totals remain fairly stagnant, moving just 1 point up to 47.5 after opening at 46.5 for the over-under. The Chargers lead the all-time series over the Jaguars 9-4. Before their 38-10 loss in Week 3, the Chargers had won 8 of the last 9 meetings in this series. Week 3 was the first meeting between Lawrence and Herbert, though, so past success is a moot point here. The 3 things to watch for. Number 1, an improved Chargers pass defense. Since the start of their hot streak beginning in Week 14, the Chargers have allowed the second lowest drop-back success rate in the league at 35.6%. In contrast, the Chargers allowed the 17th lowest drop-back success rate from weeks 1 to 13. While they're still exploitable on the ground, their ability to shore up the secondary is crucial in their hopes for a postseason run. Number 2, Trevor Lawrence in the red zone. Lawrence has had his struggles in the red zone last week, as the Jaguars scored just 1 offensive touchdown against the Titans' pass defense, allowing the most passing yards a game, almost 275, when matched up against an LA offense with several dynamic playmakers. Jacksonville can ill afford to settle for field goals in the red zone. And number 3, who ends the game with a positive turnover margin? In Jacksonville's Week 3 victory, it ended the contest with a +2 turnover margin that aided in its ability to notch a comfortable win. In coin flip type games, giving your opponent extra possessions is even more detrimental to your chances of extending your season. Whichever team can limit self-inflicted wounds and end the game with a positive turnover margin is likely to continue their playoff run. And the stat that matters, 5. That's how many game-winning drives the Chargers had this season, which ranks first among AFC teams. Herbert's shown he's capable of leading the Chargers on a scoring drive when their backs are against the wall, and there's a chance the Chargers add to that number this postseason. Needing that many game-winning drives could be looked at as a negative, but in a league where one-score games are common, Herbert's ability to shine in the brightest moments makes the Chargers a legit Super Bowl threat. As the spread indicates, this game's likely going to be decided in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. Given the Chargers offense is playing at a slightly higher level right now, I'm gonna agree with MF, as well as Justin Herbert and company, thinking he makes a handful of big plays on third down and potentially leads the Chargers on another game-winning drive. Lawrence and the Jaguars will make things interesting, but ultimately run out of steam. I'm going with MF and the Chargers on this one. My final score, I'm going to say 24-21. The LA Chargers defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there isn't much more for me to say on that. So that's the Saturday portion. Now let's get into the Sunday portion. Triple header on Sunday. We started off with our number one, with our AFC wildcard game of the week from the AFC side, as it will be the number 2 seed in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, hosting the number 7 seed, the Miami Dolphins, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York, on CBS, 1 o'clock kickoff. And on the call, hello, friends, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and Jay Feely will be joining in on the fun. Buffalo is the largest favorite of this Super Wildcard weekend. As of right now, Buffalo is opening up as a 13-point favorite. 13. Fifth postseason meeting between these two teams. They've met 4 other times. The first was, I believe, yes, it was. The first meeting was, well, stand corrected. It was in January of 91. They met in the AFC divisional playoff in Buffalo. Buffalo won that game 44-34. Second meeting was 2 years later, January of 93. They met in the AFC championship game, and the Buffalo Bills in Miami defeated the Dolphins 29-10 in the AFC title game. Third meeting was January of 96, wild card round. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Miami Dolphins 37-22 in Buffalo. And the last postseason meeting, January of 99, AFC wildcard in Miami, and the Miami Dolphins defeated the Buffalo Bills 24-17. So Buffalo leads the all-time postseason series 3-1, 5th postseason meeting all time. So Michael Bullock, we started off with you here. Buffalo, the largest favorite of the week, 13-point favorite. Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out for the Miami Dolphins. And Bullock, let's also not forget, because of what happened with Damar Hamlin and the whole thing, the Buffalo Bills, not only are they slowly becoming the new America's team, but they are also, without a doubt, the sentimental favorites to win it all.
Yeah, you could definitely say they're definitely the sentimental favorite, even though the Kansas City Chiefs will probably have something to say about that. But anywho, I mean, I would have given the Dolphins a chance if Tua Tagovailoa was going to play in this game, but obviously Skylar Thompson's going to get the start because of Tua's concussion that's still bothering him, and he has not been cleared to play. But yeah, it's going to be too much. I mean, for the Dolphins. I mean, yes, you got Tyreek Hill. Yes, you still got Jalen Waddle. But let's be realistic, guys. Skylar Thompson is certainly no Tua Tagovailoa, and he certainly is going to be able to match up with Josh Allen, and especially the emotions going for Buffalo. Especially they want to win this. They want to win this one for Damar Hamlin, and basically they want to win it all for Damar Hamlin, who, and of course, we all know he has been discharged from the Buffalo hospital and is back home. I mean, what a story this was. I mean, 10 days ago, this guy was literally fighting for his life. I mean, we weren't quite sure he was even going to make it, and for him to come this far to be able to go back home, I mean, how can you not root for Buffalo to not only win this game, but to go all the way this season? So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to win this one. So there's really nothing more to say except Florio, they're going to win this one for Damar Hamlin. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not just this game, but I'm going to say it right here, right now. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Buffalo's going all the way.
Oh boy, you made me feel really good there, Bullock, and very encouraging to hear that. And I forgot to mention the big news that came out today. If Buffalo and Kansas City meet in the AFC Championship game, the game's going to be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Talk about a neutral site indeed. Not even an AFC stadium. It's an NFC stadium hosting the AFC Championship game. So very interesting. So we'll see what happens with that if that should happen. But anyways, let me get into my thing here. The Bills' playoff journey begins with a familiar foe as the Miami Dolphins come to town to kick off Sunday's action on Wildcard weekend at 1 p.m. on CBS. This will be a tiebreaker of sorts for Buffalo and Miami, who split the regular season series 1-1. The home team won each game by less than 4 points, with Miami prevailing 21-19 in Week 3 in Miami, and Buffalo coming out on top 32-29 in Week 15 in Buffalo. MF&I's game of the year, by the way. That was our game of the year, no doubt about that. For Buffalo, a 7-game winning streak entering this weekend must feel sweet, but knowing that Damar Hamlin is out of the hospital and back home is the absolute sweetest. A praise God moment if there ever was one. The Bills enjoyed an emotional victory last Sunday over fellow AFC East rival Michael Bullock's New England Patriots to secure the number 2 seed, effectively eliminating the New England Patriots in the process. They are also guaranteed home field advantage through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs and the neutral site AFC Championship in Atlanta if Buffalo winds up playing Kansas City for the 3rd postseason in a row. As for Miami, the road to the playoffs has been a bumpy one. After starting 3-0 with massive wins over New England, Baltimore, and Buffalo, third-year quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered what many believed to have been 2 different concussions in a matter of days, one against the Bills on Sunday of Week 3, and one 4 days later in Week 4 on Thursday Night Football in Cincinnati. Tua has missed 2 different stretches this season, which directly coincided with losing streaks of 3 and 5 games, respectively. He last played in Week 16 on Christmas Day against the Green Bay Packers and has been ruled out this weekend. With backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, knee and finger also hurt for a 2nd straight week, and key skill players Raheem Mostert with a thumb and Tyreek Hill with an ankle banged up, Miami is almost literally limping into the playoffs. Odds makers knew all along that with or without Tua, this would be a tough game for Miami. But since Coach Mike McDaniel told reporters that the Finns are preparing for another Skylar Thompson start, basically all hope for a close game has been lost. The only bet we're banking on, Buffalo will be ready to rock with their 2nd-ranked scoring defense and 2nd-ranked scoring offense. The Bills opened at 11 late Sunday and into Monday morning and were subsequently bet down to 10.5, but then it went up to 13, obviously. The total opened at 45, but also inched its way down to 43.5, the over-under. However, since Mike McDaniel confirmed that Tagovailoa will remain in the league's concussion protocol, Buffalo has now risen to a robust 13-point favorite. The Dolphins lead the all-time series with the Bills 62-55 with a tie. However, Buffalo has won 8 of the last 9 meetings and 10 out of the last 12. Buffalo has gone 7-1 at home this season, while Miami has gone just 3-6 on the road. This season, the Dolphins went 1-4 against the spread against squads that ultimately made the playoffs. Josh Allen combined for 704 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 124 rushing yards in 2 games against Miami this season. The 3 things to watch for: number 1, how will the turnover battle go? One key factor that could keep the MVP out of Josh Allen's hands again this season is costly turnovers, especially in enemy territory. Allen finished the regular season with a 2.5% interception rate, the highest since his 2018 rookie year, and got picked 5 times in the red zone. Not coincidentally, Buffalo has also committed the 2nd most turnovers in the NFL at 27. Luckily for the Bills, Leslie Frazier's defense has also forced 27 turnovers, fourth most in the NFL. That doesn't exactly offset, but it sure comes close. Miami, meanwhile, takes relatively good care of the ball, committing the 8th fewest turnovers this season, but it also does not force many turnovers, 3rd fewest takeaways in the league. Of course, it's important to remember that there's a massive difference between Tua Tagovailoa, who had 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions this season, and Skylar Thompson, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 8 of Miami's 9 wins this season came when its offense committed less than 2 turnovers. An Allen versus Thompson matchup could be a bloodbath. Number 2, it's a passing world. The Dolphins started the season heavily utilizing the running game and did so again around midseason after reuniting Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. However, over the last several games, Miami has struggled to dominate via the ground, as it did early in the season. That changed last week when McDaniel's squad rolled over the Jets to the tune of 162 rushing yards. That was the Dolphins' first win with fewer than 261 passing yards since week 3, ironically, against Buffalo. Lord knows how the Fins escaped that game. The box score is puzzling, but suffice it to say, these squads are in drastically different situations than they were in week 3. Allen looked ready to level the field last week, uncorking multiple long bombs and finishing with 254 yards and 3 touchdowns against the stout Patriots defense. Miami's defense ranks bottom 7 in passing yards and passing touchdowns allowed, defensive interceptions, and takeaways. It could be a long day in Buffalo for the South Beachers, who simply can't keep up with Josh Allen's aerial attack. And number 3, special teams looking really special. Another wrinkle that has been working like a charm for Sean McDermott's squad is special teams. Nyheim Hines took not 1, but 2 kickoff returns to the house against New England last week, something that likely has Bill Belichick rolling around in his sleep in Nantucket right now. Miami ranks in the middle of the pack in opposing kick return yards, but it had better have everything tight going into Orchard Park this weekend. Matthew Smiley has this Buffalo special teams unit believing in itself at the right time. The stat that matters, 399.6. That's how many passing yards per game the Bills have averaged over their last 3 games. Miami, Chicago, and New England. Miami has gone 1-3 the last 4 times. It has allowed 296 or more passing yards. The Bills are simply on a whole different stratosphere than the Dolphins, and Thompson could be one of the worst quarterbacks to start a playoff game in quite some time. Even before Tagovailoa's 2nd or 3rd concussion against Green Bay, Mike McDaniel's squad was starting to come unglued, and the late season injuries are not helping. Buffalo is riding a 7-game winning streak and making huge plays on offense, defense, and special teams. To top it all off, Sean McDermott's team has the extra motivation of winning for Damar Hamlin. You might want to buy a point to keep the spread under double digits, but Buffalo by 2+ TDs almost seems like an easy pick. Buffalo wins. You know me. Of course, I'm going with Buffalo. Final score, 34-16. The Buffalo Bills defeat the Miami Dolphins, return to the divisional round where they will host it this time, but will not be against Kansas City. So we'll see what happens with that. So not much more to say. MF, very simply put, it's a case of good news, bad news. The good news is, hey, you boys made the postseason for the first time since 2016. That's great. I'm happy for you guys, literally. But at the same time, your franchise quarterback is out. You've got other injuries. It looks like it's going to be Skylar again. And you're facing a Buffalo team that's white hot and pretty much has the entire country behind them.
Yeah, going into this, like you said, if Tua was starting, I'd be a little more on that confidence and everything else. But I think everybody felt it once Tua went out. It kind of lost its edge. It kind of lost the luster. Because I know there was that one thing where everybody was like, oh, if Tua's healthy, if the Dolphins are healthy, if everybody was going in 100%, that this would have been a dogfight. This would have been, because I think a lot of people Miami earned a lot of people's respects after the fight that they had with Buffalo the second time around, going in that snow, going in that cold, and almost coming out with the victory, almost stealing it on Buffalo. I think it kind of was one of those, but then all of a sudden, like you said, Mostert dealing with a broken thumb, an ankle injury by Tyreek Hill. Now Teron Armstead hasn't played in the last couple of games. Now Tua with the concussion will not play, confirmed. It kind of lost its momentum, and it really, really, really bothers me, to say the very least, that that if this is how it ends, this is a rough way to end the season. There was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of ebb and flows. Obviously, you were hoping for the outcome to be a lot more different, and I really felt like it would have been. But, at the end of the day, this is how it ends. And look, it was a great season, one way or the other. Would I love to see Miami pull the upset? Absolutely. I know everybody's against Miami. I know it. Yes, this is the Damar Hamlin thing. Yes, there's that team of destiny that Buffalo's getting, and I get it. And I would love to see Miami, shut the naysayers up, shove it down their throats, and pull an upset in Buffalo. But the thing is, realistically, it's not there. We don't have it. Skylar Thompson, look, he's a rookie, and he's made a lot of rookie mistakes. He has not been the best. He hasn't been that quarterback that we saw in the preseason that really played great. And the problem is that, the one thing that I would love to see Miami do is run the football. Jeff Wilson and, Samir Ahmed. Ahmed had a big run. He ran a little angry. I would love to see them do that. I just don't think that they can do it for 4 quarters. I don't. And on top of that, I would love to see, Buffalo make mistakes. Give us some opportunity. But I just don't think like it's going to happen. This is one of those games where you can see the writings on the wall. It's probably going to not end good for Miami. And at the end, this is probably going to be the end. So, obviously, I got to take the fan out of this and be professional here, and that Buffalo will win. And that they probably will win pretty comfortably, pretty easily. There won't be much of a threat going into that next game. I would say this, though. If Buffalo did lose, oh my goodness, what type of storylines is that going to bring? Because remember, if Miami wins that game, they automatically play Kansas City in the next round. Because I think its lowest seed goes up against the top seed regardless.
Correct.
So, if Miami wins, they play Kansas City? Tyreek Hill's going back to Arrowhead? Oh, the storylines. And on top of that, we might get Tua back as well. So, game changer if that happens. But honestly, truthfully, I do believe it will end with Buffalo winning. So, I got the Bills winning as well, Anthony, and I do believe that they will advance to the divisional round. So, let's move on to the next game on the Saturday slate. On the Sunday slate, I should say.
Yep. 4:30 kickoff over on Fox back to the NFC side, and it will feature the number 3 seed in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings, squaring off against the number 6 seed, the New York Giants, from US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis on Fox. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi, they will be there. Minnesota opening up as a 3-point favorite. Fourth postseason meeting between these two. Their first was in January of 94, NFC wildcard game at the old and all three of these games were at the old Giants Stadium. The first was January of 94 wildcard game. Actually, I stand corrected. Checking in here. Actually, it was a divisional game. My mistake. It was a divisional game. And the New York Giants won that game by a score of 17-10. But I'm almost certain that was a wild card game in January of 94. And then they met again in 97. I think it was either December of 97 or January of 98. I think it was December of 97. They met in another wild card game in New York, and Minnesota won that game 23-22. Their last postseason meeting, January of 2001, the NFC Championship game. The New York Giants, one of the most lopsided NFC title games in history, 41-0 beatdown that sent the Giants to Super Bowl 35 that year. So the Giants lead the postseason series with these two teams 2-1. And I think I've covered everything here. So let's get into this one. In the second game of Sunday's wildcard tripleheader, the Giants will make the trek to Minneapolis to play the Vikings at US Bank Stadium at 4:30 on Fox. This is the Giants' first playoff appearance since 2016 when they lost in the wildcard round to the Green Bay Packers. As for the Minnesota Vikings, this will be their first postseason appearance since 2019 after finishing the season 13-4 and winning the NFC North Division. The third-seeded Vikings are looking to pick up their second consecutive win over the sixth-seeded Giants this season after defeating them 27-24 in Week 16 on Christmas Eve. Vikings kicker Greg Joseph hit a game-winning 61-yard field goal with time expiring in the fourth quarter. The Giants will hope for a better result after surviving a brutal NFC East schedule and finishing 9-7-1. Both teams have first-year head coaches making their playoff debuts in Brian Daboll for the Giants and Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, which should make things interesting on Sunday. The Vikings are only field goal favorites heading into Sunday afternoon's game, which makes sense after they won an NFL record 11 one-score games this season. However, bettors should not sleep on the Giants, who have been one of the best teams against the spread this season at 13-4. They've also covered as road dogs this season, 6-1. If this game turns out to be anything like we saw in the first meeting, we could see a lot of points scored, which is excellent for the over-under total at 48.5. The Vikings lead the all-time series against the Giants with a record of 17 games. The last time these two faced each other in the playoffs was in the 2000 NFC Championship game, where the Giants defeated the Vikings 41-0. Minnesota quarterback Dante Culpepper completed 13 of 28 passes for 78 yards and 3 interceptions. Meanwhile, New York quarterback on that day, Kerry Collins, had a field day against the Vikings secondary, completing 28 of 39 passes for 381 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The 3 things to watch for: number 1, can Saquon Barkley lead the way against this Viking defense? In the Giants' first meeting against the Vikings on Christmas Eve, Barkley made an impact both on the ground and as a receiver. The star running back had 84 rushing yards and a touchdown on 14 carries and 8 receptions on 10 targets for 49 yards. If the Giants want to pull off the upset on Sunday, they will need a similar performance from Barkley. This season, the Vikings have not done a great job stopping the run, allowing 123 yards a game, including 136 per game over the last 3. The Giants need to lean on Barkley on the ground, which should help open up the passing game for Daniel Jones. In the 4 games the Vikings have lost this season, they have given up 153 rushing yards a game. Number 2, Justin Jefferson versus the Giants secondary. Jefferson had a quiet couple of games to end the regular season, but he should have a monster performance against this Giants secondary on Sunday. In the first matchup in Week 16, the young wide receiver had 12 catches on 16 targets for 133 yards and a touchdown. Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale had no answer for Jefferson, who did whatever he wanted. New York tried to put Fabian Morrow on Jefferson, but that didn't work as he allowed 7 receptions for 9 targets for 78 yards and 4 first downs. The Giants hope to have Adoree Jackson with a knee back for Sunday's game, but it will not be an easy matchup for him as he hasn't played since Week 11. And number 3, the Giants' third down offense. New York's offense must play better on third down on Sunday afternoon if they want to keep this explosive Vikings offense off the field. In their heartbreaking Week 16 loss to Minnesota, the Giants were 3 for 11 on third down. The fact that they still had a chance to win is remarkable. New York's offense has been horrible on third down this season, only converting at a 36.7% clip, ranked 22nd in the NFL. Furthermore, the Giants' third down offense is converting at a 33.6% clip on the road this season. If New York cannot convert on third down, they will have a tough time on Sunday afternoon. The stat that matters, 5.2. This is the number of rushing yards per attempt the Giants' defense has allowed this season. New York's defense has struggled to stop the run this season, which should be good news for the Vikings, who have two standout running backs in Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison. However, Cook injured his knee last week and sat out the second half. If he can't go, Alexander Mattison, who averaged 4.3 yards per attempt against New York in Week 16, will have to shoulder the load. Minnesota can throw the ball around the field with Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and TJ Hawkinson, but Cook and or Madison will have to step up too. This could be the best game on Sunday, as the Giants won't back down to anybody. Daboll will have his team ready to go, and bettors should feel comfortable laying the points with the G-men. However, the Vikings have been one of the best home teams this season at 8-1 and will find a way to win in the fourth quarter, thanks primarily to the duo of Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings to win this game. My final score, 24-21. Minnesota defeats the Giants for a second time. So not much more for me to say. They move on to the divisional round. So MF, the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings, second meeting. And if it's anything like the game they had on Christmas Eve, we should be in for another good one with these two.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great battle. There's definitely no doubt. And it's going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. But I'm with you. I feel like Minnesota's going to win this game. I think the Giants will run the football. I think Saquon will have a very good game. I just don't feel like it's going to be an outcome here. So, yeah, give me the Minnesota Vikings to win it. And Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the Giants will definitely give the Vikings fits, but the thing is, like you said, they're gonna have. It's gonna be a tall task for them, especially to try to guard probably one of, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. So, I mean, the Giants will definitely make a game out of it, but in the end, I think it's just going to be too tall of an order for them. So, I too am going with the Minnesota Vikings to win this one. So, there's really nothing more to say. Let's get on to the final game of Wildcard Sunday.
Prime time, 8:15, Sunday Night Football on NBC. To the AFC, as it will be the number 3 seed in the AFC, the reigning, defending, undisputed AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals, hosting the number 6 seed, their divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, Paycor Stadium, formerly Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. It's the Sunday Night Football game on NBC, so you know who's working that as always. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark. And Cincinnati also opening up as a 9.5-point favorite in this one. And it's also the first ever postseason meeting between these two divisional rivals after they've met 54 times in the regular season. This will be their first ever postseason meeting. So there isn't much more to say. MF, started with you here. Cincinnati opening defense of their AFC championship at home against the Ravens. The big question here will obviously be about Lamar Jackson. If he goes, maybe it's a more exciting game. Maybe there's a chance for an upset. But if Lamar's out,
from what I heard, Lamar's not playing, and I'm hearing more and more like that's probably gonna be the story. So if that is the case, I don't care who you are. Cincinnati's winning it. They're going 3. Look, first time around, close battle. Second time around, we saw what happened. That was a wipeout. And let me tell you, everybody's sleeping on Cincinnati. And everybody is. I think, and the thing is, earlier in the year, they beat Kansas City. They were going to beat Buffalo. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about before the Damar Hamlin injury happened, and we wish him nothing but the best, and prayers and everything that he was okay and he's getting better day by day. I don't care. Buffalo was going to get smoked by Cincinnati in that game, and they were well on their way from going up 14-3 before the injury happened. So I think Cincinnati is pissed off on everything. They are feeling like they are disrespected. They feel like they are. You want to talk about how Buffalo is the team of destiny? All right, fine. Cincinnati is like, what about us? We've been disrespected. We almost had to do a stupid coin toss for the mere fact that the game is going to be anything else. And if it wasn't for the Damar Hamlin situation, we should be the number 2 seed right now in the AFC, fighting, that if we play Buffalo, that should be our home game, not theirs. So I think Cincinnati is out on revenge now. They're out for blood, and they are going to take it out on any team that stands in their way. Baltimore they're a dead duck. They're going to get goosed on this one because of the fact that, Joe Burrow is going to come out firing at all will. You already saw what Chase has done. I think Chase is going to have a big game. Tyler Boyd's going to have a big game. I think the run attack is going to be good. And that Cincinnati defense is getting better and better and better by the week. They are about to take it out on the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to put them out of the playoffs in this Super Wildcard weekend. I think it would have been a little more closer if Lamar Jackson does play. But with the injuries that's been going on, the knee is still inflamed. So it looks like he's out. It doesn't look like it's even possible that he's going to play on Sunday. And if that's the case, Baltimore's out. They're gone. They're one and done. So I got the Cincinnati Bengals winning this one, and they're going to be going off to Buffalo, and there's going to be a rematch. And this time around, it's going to be basically, yes, it's the team of destiny versus a team that feels disrespected by the NFL, by the fan base, by everybody. They're the AFC champions, and they feel like they are not getting their just due or their respect right now. I'm sorry, guys. I know Buffalo's that, I know everybody's talking about Buffalo this, Buffalo that. I think Cincinnati might put a whooping on Buffalo. I think Cincinnati is that angry enough that they could easily torch Buffalo, knock them out, go into Kansas City, knock them out, and go right back to the Super Bowl. I think Cincinnati is on that pissed off. We're not getting our respect anymore, and F everybody. We're going to take it out on everybody like the Patriot with the Spygate. And we all know what happened when New England, after that Spygate thing happened, they went off on a run. I think this is the moment where Cincinnati fans are like, enough is enough. We've been disrespected. Now it's time to take it out on the AFC for this. I think it starts with Baltimore, and then we'll see what happens with Buffalo. But as far as Baltimore goes, they're gone. They're out. There's no doubt. So Cincinnati wins. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Okay, first things first. I don't think anybody is disrespecting Cincinnati. I mean, I don't think anybody is going to take this team lightly because the thing is, I mean, Cincinnati. I mean, they're starting to look like that team that went all the way to the Super Bowl last season. I mean, they're definitely another one of the big time favorites going into this game. I mean, they're definitely in this game, but also to represent the AFC. I mean, Buffalo is the team of destiny, but I am not sleeping on this Cincinnati team because if there's one thing everybody learned from last season is to not sleep on Cincinnati because everybody was thinking, yeah, they're going into Tennessee. They're going to lose this one. They upset them. Everybody thought that they were going to lose to Kansas City. Cincinnati pulled off the big time upset. So I could definitely see them getting to the big game again. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. So yeah, and I'll be quite honest, with or without Lamar Jackson, there was no way Baltimore was going to win this game. So Cincy wins this one, so it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, and I'm damn sure not taking Cincy lightly either. Absolutely not. I'm certainly not disrespecting them either. So they can very easily get there again. No doubt about it. Very easily can. So, but for right now, let's get into this. The Ravens travel to Cincinnati for the second straight week to face the division rival Bengals, who beat Baltimore last week to secure Cincy's place as the number 3 seed in the AFC. But this week means more than just win or go home. This wildcard contest could dictate the future of the Ravens organization. We know all about hot and cold streaks in sports, especially in the NFL, but these two teams are about as polar opposite at this current stage of the 2022 campaign as you will ever see them. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have hit their stride with a blistering 8-game winning streak, while the Ravens have lost 4 in a row and have not had franchise quarterback Lamar Jackson with his knee on the field since he played 10 snaps and injured his PCL on December 4th against Denver. All signs point to Lamar Jackson once again being unable to suit up, which would mean another high-pressure start for either backup quarterback Tyler Huntley, also questionable with a shoulder injury, or third-stringer Anthony Brown. Ravens fans are probably hearkening for the days of Joe Flacco right now. The Bengals opened at a 6-point spread, but that number started rising the further into the week we got without positive news on the Lamar Jackson front. According to BetQL's line movement tracking, Cincinnati jumped from 6.5 on Wednesday to 9 on a bunch of sports books by Thursday at noon. The projected total traveled a similar path, moving from its 44-point open all the way down to a 40.5 over-under. Baltimore leads the all-time series 28-26. Cincinnati has won 3 of the last 4 meetings, but Baltimore took 5 straight between 2018 and 2021. Before that run, Cincinnati went 8-2 between 2013 and 2018. Cincinnati is a whopping 12-4 against the spread this season, with Joe Burrow becoming the face of the favorites. Baltimore has gone 2-2 against the spread since Jackson hurt his knee, but the covers were by the hairs on John Harbaugh's chinny chin chin. Last week, Cincy covered its plus 11.5 spread by a half point, 27-16. And on Christmas Eve, Cincy covered its 7 point against Atlanta by 1 point, 17-9. With the Ravens often looking inept on offense, points have been as low as a Flow Rider song. Baltimore games went under in 12 of the 17 regular season games. The majority of Cincy's games also went under, but just 9 out of 16 games. Combine their seasons, and you have a 63.6% under rate. 3 things to watch. Number 1, can Baltimore take care of the football? In the 5 weeks since Lamar Jackson got hurt, Tyler Huntley has started 4 games, and Anthony Brown has started 1. Across that span, Baltimore went 2-0 when committing 0 turnovers, but 0-3 when turning the ball over. The Ravens' 4 turnovers in Cincy last week pushed them up to 7 over the course of the last 3 losses, and 12 since Baltimore's Week 10 bye. The Bengals, meanwhile, have 9 takeaways over their last 3 games, with the Ravens missing multiple key offensive weapons, including wideouts Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay, both IR'd with foot injuries, and potentially Gus Edwards with a concussion, this could get ugly. 2, can Huntley or Brown keep up with Burrow's aerial assault? With the Bengals' run game underwhelming in the home stretch of the season, it has been Burrow that has served as the main catalyst in Cincy's wild second-half run. Plain and simple, it will be a massive challenge for either Huntley or Brown to keep up, even with the best Greg Roman game plan. The Bengals have been stifling on the ground, led by stud linebacker Logan Wilson and an underrated D-line. The way to move the ball between the 20s on Cincinnati has been through the air, but Baltimore's passing attack has been anemic. While the Ravens' 276 passing yards last week looked good on paper, we know that was mostly garbage time heaves. Baltimore failed to eclipse 126 air yards in any of the 4 games leading up to Week 18. That kind of production just won't cut it against a team contending for its second consecutive AFC championship. And number 3, will Baltimore's defense take over like in years past? We always tend to make Baltimore synonymous with shutdown defense, but the Ravens' D stunk from the 2021 season through this campaign's trade deadline. One trade changed everything, though, with Roquan Smith flying in from Chicago to light a fire under some purple and black butts. Baltimore has allowed 15 points a game since Smith hit the lineup after surrendering 23 in its first 8 games. Harbaugh and defensive coordinator Mike McDonald will need a gritty performance to slow down Burrow and his incredible pass-catching core, highlighted by 2021 Rookie of the Year Jamar Chase, stud WR2 T. Higgins, and veteran slot man Tyler Boyd, since he ranks in the top 8 in the NFL in scoring and total yardage. Stat that matters, 28.7. That's how many points the Bengals averaged at home this season, good for 4th in the NFL. Ravens went 1-5 when they surrendered 23 or more points this season. The Ravens look like they will be going without Lamar Jackson once again, which spells trouble in Cincinnati. There will be no stopping the Joe Burrow train as it continues to sweep the nation like a massive cold front. Baltimore simply does not have enough weapons, nor does it have a potent enough passing attack. The question has never been whether Cincy wins this game, but rather by how much. With the Bengals healthy on offense and better equipped for a Super Bowl run on both sides of the ball than last season, our money's on Burrow and company covering their 13th game of the season. Cincinnati wins. Final score 27-13. Cincinnati all over Baltimore advances to the divisional round. And with that, we move on to our final game of Wildcard weekend, Monday Night Football on ESPN from the NFC, and it will feature the number 4 seed, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, squaring off against the number 5 seed, the Dallas Cowboys, Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, on ESPN, 8:15 kickoff. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters. Dallas opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. Dallas leads the postseason series 2-0. So this is the 3rd postseason meeting for these two. The first came in January of 82 during the strike-shortened 1981 season. They met in a tournament game. I believe it was in an NFC semifinal tournament game in Dallas. Dallas won going away 38-0. They met again the following season in the divisional round, January of 83, or it might have been a first-round game, but regardless, Dallas also won that one 30-17. Both those games at the old Texas Stadium. So I think I've covered everything here. So Michael Bullock, take it home. You lead off on our final game of the night. Dallas, Tampa Bay to close it out on Monday night. A true Joe Buck and Troy Aikman special.
Yeah, and of course, going into this one, I mean, Dallas is definitely struggling going into the playoffs. I mean, especially after losing to the Washington Commanders in their finale, and the Bucks. I mean, of course, when you got Tom Brady as the quarterback, you can never count him out, especially with it being in the playoffs. So, and it seems like most of the time, I mean, although there are some times they get past their first playoff game, other times they get eliminated in their first playoff game. And I'll tell you what, if this game was in Dallas, I would say the Dallas Cowboys win this one. But since this one is in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, and with the way Dak Prescott has been struggling, especially with the turnovers, I'm sorry to say it, but I got to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this one. So that's all I got to say on it. So, Florio, it is yours. I mean, after the way I've seen Dak Prescott, with the way he's turned the ball over lately, I just don't have any confidence in them, and that's why I got to go with the Bucks.
Absolutely. And in the final game of Wildcard weekend, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will go on the road to play Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on Monday night, 8:15. That'll be simulcast on both ABC and ESPN. Dallas had their 2-game winning streak snapped in an ugly 20-point road loss to the Washington Commanders last week. The Buccaneers also ended the regular season with a road loss, 30-17 in Atlanta. But unlike the Cowboys, they rested their starters for a good portion of the game. The 5th-seeded Cowboys are looking to get revenge on the 4th-seeded Buccaneers, who defeated them 19-3 in Week 1 at Jerry World. Dallas will try to get out of the wildcard round this postseason after losing to the San Francisco 49ers last year in disappointing fashion. As for the Bucs, they will look to advance to the divisional round for the 3rd straight year with Tom Brady. Heading into Monday night's playoff game, the Cowboys are surprisingly a short road favorite over the Bucs. Dallas is 7-5 against the spread as a favorite this season, but 4-4 against the spread on the road. Conversely, Tampa Bay has been the worst team against the spread this season, 4-12-1. The Cowboys lead the all-time series against the Buccaneers with a record of 15-6, but Tampa Bay has won the last 2 meetings. The last time these two teams played each other in the playoffs was during the 1982 season, when the Cowboys defeated the Bucs 30-17 at Old Texas Stadium. The Cowboys are 18-7 against the spread against conference opponents over the last 2 years, according to BetQL. Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles is 16-5 against the spread as a home underdog versus the first half line over his career, per BetQL. And the Cowboys are also 2-3 against the spread as a road favorite this season. 3 things to watch for. Number 1, Dak Prescott's turnover issues, like Bullet just mentioned. The Cowboys could be one and done in the playoffs if Prescott does not get his turnover issues fixed ASAP. Last week against the Commanders, the veteran quarterback threw his 15th interception, which was returned for a touchdown by Washington cornerback Kendall Fuller. Since Week 12, Prescott has thrown an interception in 7 straight games. This season, Tampa Bay had just 20 takeaways, which was good for 20th in the NFL. If Tampa Bay wants to win on Monday night, their defensive line will have to get pressure on Prescott and force him into a mistake. Number 2, Cowboys running game versus Buccaneers run defense. After starting the second half of the regular season strong, the Cowboys running game has fizzled out over the last 2 games. Last week against the Commanders, Dallas only had 64 rushing yards. The previous week against the Titans, the Cowboys mustered 87 rushing yards and a touchdown. If their running game isn't working, the rest of the offense struggles, which means more pressure on Prescott to make plays with his arm. Now the Cowboys will have to face a Buccaneer defense that gave up 121 rushing yards per game during the season, 15th in the NFL. The Cowboys should be able to make some plays on the ground against this Tampa Bay defense on Monday night. However, the Bucs defended the run better at home this season, only giving up 112 rushing yards a game, 10th fewest. We'll see if Dallas will stick to the run game or abandon it early if they don't see immediate results. And number 3, Mike Evans and the Bucs passing game. The star wide receiver had one of his best games this season a couple of weeks ago against the Carolina Panthers when he recorded 10 catches on 12 targets for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was a vintage outing from Evans, who was held without a touchdown in the previous 11 games. He will now get prepared to face a Dallas secondary, which has been really struggling toward the end of the season. Dallas wound up allowing the 9th most receiving yards and most touchdowns, 22, to wide receivers in the regular season. Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich must get Evans and Chris Godwin the ball early and often on Monday night. Godwin has been phenomenal this season since returning from a torn ACL and has stepped up as the Bucs' number one wide receiver. However, Evans can still put up monster stats and has a good opportunity against Dallas. Stat that matters, the number 54. 54. This is the number of sacks the Cowboys defense has recorded this season, 3rd most in the NFL. If the Cowboys want to win on Monday night, they will need to get pressure on Tom Brady, who has only been sacked 22 times this season. When these two teams played in Week 1, the Cowboys got to Brady twice and limited his passing numbers. He only had 212 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. But Dallas couldn't muster enough offense to take advantage of Brady's struggles. We should expect Dallas's defense to bounce back after their lackluster performance last week against Washington. It's hard to know what to expect in this game with Dak Prescott struggling and the Buccaneers seemingly underachieving all season. However, I'm with Bullock here. I like Tampa Bay to get the win in prime time. It will likely come down to the 4th quarter, which is Tom Brady time. Brady is battle-tested and knows what it takes to will his team to a win. Prescott hasn't played great lately, and it is hard to see him flipping a switch on the road. So I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. I'm with you, Bullock, on this one. Close game, though. I say Tampa wins. I'm going to say 24-20. Tampa Bay defeats Dallas. MF. Dallas, Tampa Bay, Monday night. Take it home.
If Dallas did not fall to the Washington Commanders as epically as they did, I would be picking the Cowboys right about now and disagreeing with both you guys and going lone wolf. But I won't. I'm actually in the full agreement that I think Tampa is going to win this one and win this one going away. Dak is not the same. Something's wrong. I don't know what. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but Dak has not played good at all. And with Tom Brady, playoff Lenny, and Mike Evans and all that going on right now, man, I think Tampa's going to win this one, and they'll win this one going away. If you would have told me about a month ago, I would have said Dallas all the way. I would have said Dallas easy. They would smoke Tampa right out of the playoffs. But now I'm with you guys. I gotta go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're gonna win this game. So yeah, we're done. We're out of here. So Florio, it's yours.
All right, folks. Programming note, because of a special commitment on my end, and I talked it over with MF earlier before the show tonight, because I have a special event tomorrow night. We will not be doing the Cerebral Smack Talk tomorrow night. It has been pushed back to Saturday night at 10:30 over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. Special Saturday night edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, where we will review Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage, as we always do. And then on Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw. Monday Night Raw, as we continue on the road to the Royal Rumble. Penultimate show before the Royal Rumble, by the way. And then my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling's first pay-per-view of the year, Hard to Kill, and a big announcement. Scott D'Amore, the authority figure of Impact Wrestling, was brutally attacked by Bully Ray on last Thursday's Impact, not tonight's show, the week before, last week. Gail Kim on tonight's show announced that that they have found a replacement for Scott D'Amore for the time being, and they will announce who that is on the pay-per-view tomorrow night. So I will share who that is on Monday night in my Tony's Take. And then on Wednesday Night Madness, of course, good old MF Michael Fletcher will have that, as it will be, of course, NXT and AEW Dynamite as usual. And then next week, TXN Sports World NFL Thursday, divisional playoff edition, as we will preview the 4 games that make up the divisional playoffs. And let me tell you, if it's anything like what we saw last year, that's all there is to say on that. So we'll have more on that in the days to come. When it comes to future content, we'll announce those matchups Monday night on Ridiculously Raw during future content. So that's it. So until Saturday night for the special Saturday edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Saturday night, for the special Saturday night edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching the Super Wildcard Weekend edition of TXN Sports World NFL Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and streaming.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. And bye, everybody. Bye.